This week we are going to start our project on the American Revolution, and our focus on this week is to get our research in. Later we will take our research and turn it into a presentation. Some of the students can use Google Slides, some of the students will use Microsoft PowerPoint, but the key for this week is to just get your research in. So don't worry about trying to create a presentation or anything. We're just going to make research today. We're just going to write down some research today. Now you can just jot down notes if you would like, or what you could do is you can create a thinking map. So some people like to use a bubble map, or maybe if you want to do a circle map just to get some ideas down. I would do a sequence flow map. That's how I would do this project, but this will become much more clearer as we go on. So let's go over what we're going to do. We're going to research these aspects of the American Revolution, and we're going to turn it into a presentation in Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a title slide, and it's just going to say, causes and major events of the American Revolution. And the first slide, you're just going to introduce yourself. After the introduction slide, the next slide, you're just going to introduce yourself, briefly explain who you are and what your presentation is about. Hi, I'm so-and-so, and this is going to be my presentation on the American Revolution. I hope you enjoyed. Something simple like that. The next thing you're going to talk about is the Stamp Act, and you're going to say, what was it, when was it, why did it upset the colonists? So look at this. If you were doing a flow map, when you do your research, you could put in here, Stamp Act, and then underneath you could say, well, what was it? When was it? Why did it upset the colonists? You just make it like this. And then you make your next one. Now let's look at the next one. The next one is Boston Massacre. What happened and when? What was the Townshend Act? So I'm going to say Boston Massacre here, and I'll say what was it? What happened in this box? And then in the next box, I'm going to talk about the Townshend Act, because the Townshend Act is related to the Boston Massacre. Then I'm going to go to the next one. Well, what's the next one? The next one is the Boston Tea Party. So I'm going to write Boston Tea Party here. And then you're going to say, what did it happen? What occurred? What was the importance of this to the revolution? So I'll say what happened here. And then I'll say, what was the importance to the revolution? So see, what you're doing is you're just creating a thinking map to write down your notes. This is how I would suggest doing it. Just on the top here, you could put the American Revolution, put your name, and you just draw these big boxes, and then underneath you answer these questions. Does everybody see that? So the big box would have the title, like Stamp Act, the Boston Massacre, and then the little box is going to have the questions underneath. So you're going to answer these things each. So these are the topics we're going to talk about. Paul Revere's ride. Who was Paul Revere? What message did he send? So what message did he send? So when you get to that one, you put Paul Revere. Then you put a box underneath. Who was he? What message did he send? Right? So you do not have to do it exactly like this. If you prefer, you could just write notes. The only reason I'm bringing up the thinking map is many of the students are really experts at thinking maps. I know you did a lot of it in 3rd grade. So I think that for many students, this is what they prefer. If you're somebody you're not as comfortable with this, then you could just jot down on a piece of loose leaf, just jot down notes if you would prefer. But many of the students, I believe, are comfortable with flow maps. Now, you also could try a tree map. I don't think it would work as well, but you could try that. And this may be a little bit too complex to do it like that, So I wouldn't do a multi-flow map. I think a flow map would probably be the easiest. And you could also try a classifying map. You probably could even try a bubble map. It's not going to be as smooth. I think the easiest way to do this would be to a sequence map like this, a flow map. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. You're going to take all of these aspects of it, and you're going to research them. You're going to say, what was the Boston Tea Party? What was Paul Revere's ride? What was the Declaration of Independence? And underneath, these are the little bubbles underneath. Those are the aspects that I want you to say. So for Declaration of Independence, you're going to say, well, what was the date of it? Well, it was July 4th, 1776. What did it say? It said that the United States, or the colonists, they want to form their own country, and they believe all people have rights. And, you can go further into there. And then what was the Treaty of Paris, right? What did it say? What happened next, right? That's the end of the war. So you're going to have all of these things you're going to research, and you're going to take your research, and you could either just jot down notes, or you could make a thinking map. And then later in the future, we're going to turn that into a presentation. So don't worry about trying to do this all in 1 week. Just worry about getting your research in. And your research doesn't have to be perfect this week. It's okay if you have to add something next week, but please start this week. So I'll show you how to get started. So we talked about the flow map. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the school website. So you're on PS21Q period RG. Click on grade level resources. You click on 4th grade. One of the things you could do is you could use these websites over here. Okay, Fact Monster, KidRex, Kids Clicks, Kidtopia, Kiddle, Save Kids, Ducksters. You could use those to get your research if you want, and you just would type in, right? So if I was on, Kiddle, I could put, what was the Boston Tea Party? I just put that in there, Boston Tea Party, right? I put Boston Tea Party. And then I could get some results about the Boston Tea Party. That's one thing you could do. The other thing you could do, and I tried to make this easy for the children. What you could do is, if you go to under 5th grade, so everybody's special projects, 5th grade, special projects. And now under the 4th grade here, we have many, many resources here. Now the first thing I would do if I was you is I would watch this video, Causes of the American Revolution on BrainPop. So you just click it, and you have your video here that you could watch. And the username and password, I put it in the Google Classroom assignment. Here we have another video here, BrainPop, U.S. Revolution. We have that video. Now this article, Ducksters, guess what? They have a lot of information here. A lot of information. And look at this down here. Causes of the American Revolution, Stamp Act, Townsend S. Boston Massacre, Boston Tea Party. They have a lot of this stuff. Treaty of Paris. They have a lot of the stuff right over here in this one page. Okay, so that's a really great resource. Then we have other articles over here that you could look at as well. So what I would do if I was you is I would watch the videos first, on the BrainPop videos. Then I'd look at the Duckster article here, and I would start jotting down your notes. And we talked about this. You could make a flow map if you would like, or you could just jot down notes, whatever you like. And think about these things. What was the Stamp Act? When was it? Why did it upset the colonists? Boston Massacre. What was it? Boston Tea Party. Paul Revere's Ride. Declaration of Independence. Treaty of Paris. And then finally, what was the impact of the American Revolution on all aspects of life of the colonists? What was it like for the colonists back then? What was it like for them to live in this time? What was it like to have to deal with the Stamp Act? What was it like dealing with the war? What was it like, and how did their life change because of the American Revolution? So, as I said, I'd like the students to get started with their research this week. It's okay if you do not have perfect research this week. It's okay if you say, hey, I didn't get to do about the Treaty of Paris. I still have a little bit I have to figure out about it. That's okay. But I'd like you to do the bulk of your research this week. And as I said, the way you're going to get this research is by these sources right here. You have your BrainPop video. I would say the BrainPop video and this Ducksters article, you probably get 85 to 90% of your information just from there. It's right here for you. And we have some of these other ones here if you need it as well. Okay, so this week we're just creating our research, and very similar like we did with the cloud computing project. Excuse me. We researched 1 week, and then the next week we wrote about it. We're going to do a similar thing with this, but with PowerPoint and slides. So this week will just be our time for researching, and then next week we will work on turning it into a presentation. Okay, so I want to wish everybody best of luck with their research, and here are some great sources if you need information. You can also use some of your own sources that you have and what you've also learned in class. So anything you've learned in class, you can also feel free to add to your research.